I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're embarking on a journey of extraordinary adventures and heartfelt lessons with Amita McBride, the visionary behind a wonderful book. It is called My Horse, the Hummingbird, and a Very Small Tiger. The author, a beacon of creativity and empowerment, shares her unforgettable journey alongside her beloved horse, Joe, a courageous hummingbird and a small Peruvian tiger, weaving a tale of dreams, courage, and the magic of life. Join us right now as we dive into the wisdom of the heart and the remarkable paths it can reveal. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank our team at Bookside Press for helping us put her in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Amita, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan. It's an honor.
It's an honor to have you as a guest. Let's give the folks at home first an overview of what My Horse, the Hummingbird, and a Very Small Tiger is about.
Well, it's the first book I wrote a little over 10 years ago, and it was inspired by this hummingbird that got trapped in my feed barn. And it brought in this sort of instant awareness of how we can trap ourselves in our own lives by being so sure we know the way to go, and we force ourselves when we're in a state of fear or overwhelm instead of stopping and taking a breath and looking at the opportunities around us. And the hummingbird kept throwing herself at this window that didn't open. And right behind her was an open door where she could have flown out to freedom. And she fought me and she fought herself. And when she finally just stopped, she let me help her. And I just saw this incredible opportunity for myself, for everyone, to really look at life and look at how we approach life and look at how we listen or we don't listen to our hearts, to our spirits, to what our dreams really are. And do we approach life through courage and strength, or do we approach it through fear? And so I wove this story based on true experience with my horse and hummingbird and this ranch in New Mexico, where I had him go work with children to help them be inspired with their self-confidence and grow within themselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A lot of people seem very, very willing to basically trade away their lives for a paycheck, just to do something to fill the day and not doing what they really dream about doing, or let themselves dream about doing. Because if you have a passion, you'll find a way to make a living out of it. And you'll also be, never working a day in your life because you'll love what you do. Part of the love of your life is your horse, Joe. Tell us a little bit about how he fits into the story.
Well, he's not in this world anymore.
Okay, I'm sorry.
He's passed on. That's all right. But when he came to me, it was quite an extraordinary circumstance, actually. My neighbors had him and they were leaving and moving to another state. And they said they had watched how I interacted with my goats and my gardens, and their children used to come stay at my house. And so I said I would take him. And I had ridden all my life, but I had never had my own horse. And remarkably, he somehow knew, and he broke out of the paddock and appeared at my front window at sunrise on the day they were leaving. And he was with me for over 18 years. So
Wow.
he was a huge gift for me, and I was a gift for him. He had had a very difficult beginning. He
Yeah.
had been very badly abused. And I brought him back, and he fed my heart and I fed his, and he's just been a blessing.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it was a wonderful experience. Now, the other part of your title pertains to a Peruvian tiger. And I
Yes.
know our viewers are like, I want a Peruvian tiger. So
Right.
tell us. I mean, I do want a Peruvian tiger.
Well, I wish I could tell you that it was real.
Oh, okay.
It's a small woven tiger. I've traveled extensively, and I lived in Peru for a time, working with elders and living on Lake Titicaca, and I was at 12,500 feet.
Hmm.
And I met these two young boys in this village, and they were selling these little woven finger puppets that their mothers had made. And so I bought a few of them. And so Tails the tiger fits on your finger, and he's only about 3 inches tall. And it's a playful aspect of my book, but it's
Mhm.
also a very serious aspect of the book.
Right.
He is the voice of your imagination, of the part of you that wants you to live and not worry so much about what other people think or what society expects you to do or what you think you should do that isn't based on the passion within you. So
Mm.
I used him as the voice of your inner inspiration, of your imagination, of your playfulness, you know, and
Gotcha.
that's why it's a story for all ages, because the questions I pose in the book are questions for all of us. I just reread it this morning
Yep.
and was looking at the questions I asked and said, okay, where am I in this part of my life and in this aspect and that aspect? So yeah.
Give me one of the, first of all, I do want one of those finger puppets to talk to. I'll talk to it just like the boy in The Shining.
Oh God, I
Daddy's
hope.
very mad at you, Tony. So I'll name my Peruvian tiger Tony. But he'll inspire me, though. He won't be like the kid in The Shining.
Okay,
We need to
good.
get out of here now. Um, what's one of the questions you pose in your book?
Um, One of the questions I pose in the book is, do you let yourself play? Do
Hmm.
you do you allow yourself to step into new experiences that are presenting themselves in your life, or do you hold back and out of fear, not allow yourself to just let go a little bit
Yeah.
and step forward? So I use a lot of parallels with my horse when I was loading him onto the
Hmm.
trailer and taking him to the horse ranch for kids, you know, and he was scared at first. You know, we get very comfortable in our environments. We get very comfortable in our habits and our patterns. And not that that's good or bad, but
Right.
if life brings us adventure, opportunities to be bigger versions of ourselves, you
Right.
know, to be the best person we can be, well, life is always changing. It is
Hmm.
never going to stay the same, and nothing is guaranteed. And
Right.
so, how are you going to carry that when you lose those that you love, when your job changes, when your family dynamics change, whatever it is? These are big things, but
Yeah.
have a choice in how you walk forward with that.
Yep.
And are you going to do it through fear? Or are you going to take a breath and embrace it and say, okay, what's next? And,
Right.
and
Well, that's a healthy way to live. I think my expression, I think I coined it myself, is I'm most comfortable outside of my comfort zone.
yes,
So I love challenging myself. If somebody's got to do something, but I'm an actor and a broadcaster, so it kind of goes hand in hand that you'd be willing to do crazy things like talk to your finger on TV. But
right.
let's talk about other aspects of your life as a writer. I
Oh,
understand you're a contributing author on other nonfiction books as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
I have another book that I wrote. It's called Have Animal Crackers Will Travel.
Hmm.
And it's just a collection of writings throughout my life, but it's not stories, it's aspects of experiences. And it's in a poem format, but not exactly. It's just sort of free writing. And
Hmm.
so there's a collection of writing there. And I was fortunate enough to be asked to be a writer in a series called A Journey of Riches. And
Hmm.
it's a best-selling series in many countries. And John Spender, the Australian publisher, is just an amazing human being. And so I'm in one book there, and it's called Transform Your Wounds into Wisdom. And I'm one of 12 authors in that book, and I wrote a chapter there. And he just contacted me a couple of months ago and asked me to be in his new book, which I'm
Great.
very excited about. And it's called Elevate Your Life. So
Hmm.
I'm working on a piece there, and I'm working on a couple of other books. One is actually about Glacier National Park, a true story that took place there. But I did want to say that one of the reasons I feel so honored to be in a journey of riches is all of the proceeds go to benefit orphans and
Hmm.
farmers and people in need in Bali. And so across the board, all of the proceeds are to give back for us to realize, you know, we're all a community.
Yeah.
So that's he's just a very beautiful person in that regard and comes from his heart. And so to be part of a series that really operates in that authentic way feels very, very good to me and aligns with my moral compass. I'll say it like that. So
Yeah, it sounds like your life is very much focused on helping others, empowering others, helping people live their best life. We chatted before we started recording today. It sounds like you're living your best life. You live in a beautiful place in Montana, that's got Japanese influences on lots of acres, and it's great. I mean, you're crafting the life you want to live, and you're helping others do the same. So I think that's a great give back.
Well, I'm really just stepping into that in this whole new platform. So
Mm.
based on what my book is, I'm stepping onto a whole new platform myself. I'm
Yeah,
expanding myself
yeah.
and considering opening this healing center and expanding my writing. And I'm a glass blower and I love to create. So all these different parts of me, I'm taking to the next level.
Hmm.
I'm letting myself expand more
That's great.
and open into what's possible. And I'm pretty excited about it. So.
Tell me how you envision your healing center. It's something you possibly will open or might open or planning to open.
Oh no,
Tell
I
us about that.
definitely will. When I got this amazing property, it was actually negotiated for me. I hadn't even
Mm,
seen it in person until I got here, and I just had these visions of bringing people together because it's such a beautiful place. And so I have a beautiful yurt that's almost complete for
mhm.
gathering, and I have a greenhouse, and I'm a beekeeper, so the bees are coming, and the land is just very peaceful and healing, and there's so many of us that, let me say it this way, we all go through difficulties and we
Right.
all go through beauty, and we never know when we're going to be the one needing that compassion and caring, and we all have to find our way, but we can help each other do it. And
Yeah.
we can help each other by realizing that we all have the same fears, we all have joys, we all have happiness. And the world has been going through quite a lot, and there's been a lot of isolation for people with what we've been going through globally. And so finding community again and coming together and lifting each other up, inspiring each other, and finding as much good as you can through difficult situations and learning how to transmute that is is so important
Yeah.
versus being stuck in difficulty. And
Mm.
it takes time, and giving yourself that time to
Yeah.
work things, but also knowing that there's, not to sound cliche, but the spring always comes, and when the
Mm.
flowers come up, they're doing a whole lot in the dark under the soil before you see them. And that's that transmuting process.
Yeah.
And so that's,
It's a great philosophy. It's great advice. Are you originally from Montana?
no, I'm from Boston
Okay.
originally. Yeah. And I lived in Colorado for a long time. And I'd been between Colorado and Montana. And because I had worked in Glacier National Park, I was ready for a change and starting a whole new phase of my life. And it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And the people are wonderful. And so I'm literally starting a whole new life within my life. So
Yeah. And that's why I asked the question, because if you're from there, it's one thing to live there. But
yeah.
to choose a place to live that, three-quarters of the way across the country from Boston, means something. It means you're committed to making a significant change, to living in this place of natural beauty. So I think that's very, very interesting, very, very impressive as well. Before we leave you today, I just want you to tell the folks at home what you hope they will gather or gain or learn from your book, My Horse, the Hummingbird, and a Very Small Tiger.
Okay. Well, actually, a really good parallel with that is to share with people to literally be a living representative, I guess, of what I write about in the book. I moved here to Montana by myself.
Mm.
I moved here and started all of this on my own. I'm doing it on my own, literally starting a new life and finding that courage, and that
Yeah.
strength to do that. And so I guess that's what I would say with the book is please don't think it's just for children because it's not. The questions in there I feel are relevant at every stage in our life. And it's about finding that part of you that wants to play and wants to, maybe a part of you that you've held back from really exploring, if you want to be a dancer or a singer or an artist or whatever it is, and for whatever reason, not letting yourself have that, or you've been talked out of it, or you want to have a villa in Italy, but you don't know how you're going to do it. You have to know what you want, not the how. and then
Right.
let things open. If we don't even try, how can doors open for us? So,
Exactly. Yeah, it's
yeah,
like planning a trip. You got to know where you want to go in
yeah,
order to map a
yeah,
route to get there. And I think your book is very impactful because, I think children will get a lot from it, obviously. I think adults will get a lot from it. And I think the secret to being a good adult or an effective adult or a happy adult is to not let go of that child inside of you. And that
absolutely.
child inside of you who dreams of living in Montana or, living in a villa in Italy or doing whatever is often, socialized, civilized, beaten out of us by schools and
Yeah,
society,
yeah.
telling us we have to conform and do what everybody else does. So I think it's a very inspirational message. And I want to wish you great luck with this book. The name of the book, once again, folks, it's written by Amita McBride. It is called My Horse, the Hummingbird, and a Very Small Tiger. She has other works out there as well, so you can look for those online also. And I think you will love this book. Amita, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you so much, Logan. Can I share one other thing that might be
Sure.
relevant? A number of years ago, when I first wrote the book, a friend of mine who's a teacher in England, and let's just say a more impoverished area,
Mhm.
we did an experiment, and she brought my book into a classroom of kids, and they read a chapter a day. And these children had never left the town they were born in. They didn't know a whole lot about the world. And she shared an amazing story with me. And she said one of the boys that was most excited to read the book one day came in and he was very upset and said that he didn't trust me anymore and didn't want to read the book and she couldn't figure it out. And said in my bio that I had hiked and spent the night on the top of Mount Olympus. And he said,
Mm.
that's not possible. That's the home of the gods. She couldn't have done that. And she said, well, she did do it. And let me show you. And she brought up the computer and showed him that I was speaking the truth. And she said, for him to realize, because he was so excited and inspired by the story, that I was telling the truth and that you could do that. She said the children started imagining what they could do with their lives. And these were young kids between 8 and 10. And they started imagining they could leave their town, or they could do all kinds of things with their lives, or they could be writers or travelers or photographers for National Geographic or whatever it is. And that filled my heart immensely because that is the point of the book. And so thank you for letting me add that as well,
Oh,
because
sure. No,
that,
it's a great point. The only
yeah,
thing that limits us is our beliefs.
yes,
you
yes,
know so
yeah.
don't be limited by your beliefs. I'm a big believer in pursuing your dreams, doing what you want, living the life that you want to live, like I said, whether it's living in a villa, living in Montana, or whatever. I
And
think
being
it's
patient.
what's that.
And being patient.
And being patient, yeah, and a kind giving person along the way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
Well,
much, Logan.
thanks so much for joining us here today. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.